जहाँ कोई वो नहीं आ रही है, ऑडियो नहीं आ रही है।
Okay, nice. मैं mute करके रखा है. Okay, so again, giving the introduction, I am Harsh, joining with another Harsh and Kavi. We'll be taking we are the
जहाँ
hosts
कोई
of
वो नहीं
the
आ
session, and today we are going to have a talk with Soham sir, who has been working as an engineer at Crawl for AI, working with local models and N8N workflows. I think something that I have to learn about too, because I don't know anything about NA10 other than the cool graphs that are there. वो workflow वाले प्यारे प्यारे ग्राफ ऐसे फ्लो चार्ट टाइप के. इसके अलावा I have no clue what NA10 मतलब has to work मतलब with. So this is today's first agenda. Again, other after this, we'll have some more topics to discuss. We would be discussing the mid evaluations and the submission guidelines for the hackathon specifically. The coming up mini games and the monkey type round two, which is yet to be declared. And we would also be taking a Q&A session. Anyone who has any problems regarding the hackathon or the mini games or any other general basic doubts that they have about the event itself, we are here to clear it out. So, without wasting any further time, let's get on with the Soham sir, and we can start the talk with him. Hello, Soham sir, live.
हेलो.
Yes.
अच्छा आ गया मेरा.
Smile, you are live.
Oh shit. Hello everyone, my name is Soham and today I'm going to be talking about building local AI pipelines with N8 and crawl for AI. सबसे पहले भाई start करने के पहले like if you guys can let me know that you can hear me, that would be nice. तो मैं chat देख रहा हूँ और मतलब अगर आवाज आ रही तो बता दो. वैसे I mean हर्ष वर्ष तुम भी कंफर्म कर सकते हो.
हाँ हाँ, I think आ ही रही है.
आ रही है. Okay, okay.
Yes,
Uh,
yes, आ रही है.
let me begin then.
Yes.
All right. So this right now, I'm going to basically give you all a brief about NA10 crawl for AI and basically building local AI pipelines with these tools. So
आ
essentially,
रही है
before I start,
majestic.
let me tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Soham. I am currently an engineer at crawl for AI, and basically I started contributing to crawl for AI towards the end of 2025. And फिर वहाँ से I became more important and I became a part of the core team, and now I'm full time at crawl for AI and I'm working and contributing to the crawl for AI library while also helping build our own crawl for AI cloud. I've been a part of OSDC since the first year of college. So, like right from the moment I came to college, the only good thing that I saw in JP during my first year was OSDC, and I've been in love with the society ever since. I have participated in hackathons. I have met a lot of friends here. I then became a member of the core team here. Then I became a coordinator, and now this is the full circle moment because now I am an alumni and coming here and giving a talk and like interacting with OSDC juniors is a pretty cool thing. Aside from that, I really like to explore different things in tech. I'm a pretty generalist, so I don't really have a specialization. I just look at a lot of things about a lot of different tech that's going around. And I love football. I love watching football. If you guys want to discuss anything about the World Cup with me, controversies or anything, you can definitely talk to me about that. That's basically the brief about me. Then coming to the tools that we're going to use. So basically, to build a local AI pipeline, all you need is three things. Well, I've just mentioned two in the title, but essentially you need three things. One is basically a tool where you will build the entire workflow automation, which is NA10. So NA10 is essentially the place where you can very easily build any kind of workflow that you want, and it has integrations with all sorts of things. whether it's local, whether it's online, and it has a lot of integrations. Then the next thing that we have is Crawl for AI. So Crawl for AI will be our open source scraping engine. So before I come to Crawl for AI, let me tell you a little bit about N8N. So N10 is something like Zapier, if you guys have heard about it, but Zapier is more like for commercial purposes, whereas N8N is open source and it also has like a self-hosted version. So you can set up N8N on your own machine, on your own server. You can like run the Docker container, run it anywhere you want, or run it with npm like I am doing right now. And basically, it's very simple to set up. It can run on your own machine, and you can build all sorts of AI workflows with it. Now, coming to why you should use N8N, right? What's the advantage of building N8N? Now, in this world, I think everything and everybody is just talking about AI right now, and AI workflows are like the hot trend because, like, all of these agents and everything, they're also in a way they're also performing AI workflows, whether it is like replying to your emails or it is performing certain tasks, or even coding is sort of like a workflow where you tell it to do something and it goes ahead and it performs that task and it comes back to you and says like, okay, I've implemented this feature. You can look at it, you can chat to me about it and all of that. And now then the question arises, why should you use N8N if we have all of these AI agents who can also build similar workflows or do things, right? So we have the Hermes agent. We have things like Claude Code or Open Code, which can also, in a way, build workflows for you with code. And we also have like OpenClaw and all of these tools that can do that. So N8N is basically the biggest advantage of N8N is its UI. So you can look at N8N and you can see how simple the UI is, right? It's very simple. You just have a bunch of these nodes and you can connect them like connecting different Lego pieces. And just by doing that, you can build a very powerful UI, which looks very simple, but it can do a bunch of really cool things. And that's the biggest advantage for N8N, in my opinion. And it also gives you complete understanding of what is going on. With AI, it writes a lot of code, it generates a lot of bloat, and you don't understand what's going on half the time. But with N8N, the thing is somebody has done all the work of for that particular node. If, like, for example, I'm using this Google Sheets trigger, I basically know what it's doing, but the working under the hood has been written by a real person who knows everything about its integration, and they know that this is bug free, they know this works properly, and you can be sure that this will work, unlike AI where like things break a lot and you have to really spend a lot of time making it work properly. Then the other thing is the biggest advantage of N8N over other platforms is its integrations. So N8N has a lot of integration. So here, like even in this workflow, for example, you can see I have like a Google Sheets trigger, and I'm going to explain all of these things to you. But essentially, you can link a lot of things, right? Let's say you want to reply to Slack messages, or you want a certain workflow to execute when you get a message on Slack or on Discord or on Notion, or you want to connect GitHub with it or anything. Like, it has so many integrations that you can pretty much build an AI workflow related to anything. And you can call and do so many things. If you want, you can like write code and have custom logic in there. If you want, you can have so many things. It's like the possibilities with N8N is actually really, really a lot. The next thing is scheduling, right? So I'm going to show you a workflow where we also have like a cron job setup. So let's say you want your workflow to run at a specific time during the day. You can very easily do that with N8N. You can host it on your own machine or on a server that you want, or you can also use the hosted version of N8N if you don't want to host it yourself. But because we're talking about local first year, so we're going to talk about the self-hosted setup. Then obviously it's parallel, like you can fan out to multiple sources, you can have multiple sources there. Then another advantage is if, let's say, you have other things running on your own machine. Like, let's say if I have an application which is only running on my own machine and it only works on local host, then I don't need to like deal with exposing it to the internet or like deploying it or anything like that. I can just have it running on localhost, and N8N will just talk with it, right? So it can talk with Crawl for AI running on my own machine, it can talk with LLM or Olama running on my own machine, and I can pretty much do anything, right? So it supports local AI in a very nice way. That's the brief of N8N, and it's very simple to install. You can just search N8N installation, and you'll find that like it's very easy to just download it using the command line. It's very easy to download on Windows or on Mac or anything. You can download it via Docker if you want, or you can download it with npm. You can install the N8N CLI tool and use it as well. Then coming to the next thing, we have Crawl for AI. So Crawl for AI, like so basically N8N is your entire orchestrator. It's going to build the workflow, but in those workflows you need different tools, right? And by default N10 has a bunch of these different tools already integrated. But let's say you want to run a tool locally on your own machine. Most of the community nodes and the integrations that N10 has, they would be with tools or services that exist on the web somewhere. So it could be like you're using Firecrawl, but you have to go to Firecrawl's website, you need to download their, like, you need to sign up there, you need to get an API key and then use it. But the advantage of crawl for AI is you can either install the Python library on your own machine, or you can run a Docker server, and then you'll have an open source scraping engine running right there on your own machine, right? And with crawl for AI you can very easily just crawl different pages, you can crawl websites that require JavaScript rendering, and you can directly get LLM ready markdown that you can use. So it makes it very easy to use with Na10. You don't have to do any setup, and it runs out right out of the box, which is the biggest advantage of crawl for AI. So this is the crawl for AI documentation. Here you can see, like, if you want to self-host it and install it on your own, the very simple method is like using the crawl for AI library, or you can just easily run it with Docker as well. So you can just run these commands, and then you just run this, and you can run the Docker container on your own machine on port 11.23.5. So that way you can pretty easily get it running, and right out of the bat connected with N10. Now, what are the advantages of crawl for AI over other tools? Like, I can directly, one question you might have is like, we can directly send an HTTP request to a website and get the content. But the problem with that is, for a lot of websites, for example, we have, for example, a bunch of websites require JavaScript rendering, or it could be that they are dynamic pages where, the HTML content does not have all the information by itself, but we might need to like scroll down to get the information, or we might need to render it on a browser, or we might need to do some sort of an interaction for the content to update and like for us to get everything. So in that sense, in that case, we need to have like a headless browser so that we can get all the information for different websites. And that's what Crawlfree does. It creates a headless browser with which you can very easily get this information. The other thing is it gives you direct markdown, which is already cleaned. So we output something called fit markdown, where we remove unnecessary information. For example, we would remove headers or random pop-ups which might come in and like pollute your LLM. In that case, we don't give you random soup, we don't just put anything in your markdown, we give you LLM ready markdown that you can already use. Then you can give multiple requests in one, you can send multiple URLs in one request. So if you have just like, if you have a Docker container running, you can just give multiple requests and get the markdown for all of them and use it very easily. Then you can do something called structured extraction, where, for example, if let's say I go to my own, if I go to my own GitHub page here, you can see, let's say I want to get my LinkedIn URL. If I'm going to show you the workflow for this as well, but let's say I want to get somebody's LinkedIn URL. In that case, I'm not concerned with any of this information, right? And I just want this LinkedIn URL. So with Crawlfuria, you can very easily perform structured extraction to get only this particular element and ignore everything else. And you can either do that by passing the CSS element that you want, right? So you just either give the CSS selector, or we have another thing called one shot extraction, where we use an LLM once, and that LLM figures out this particular element CSS selector. And once it's figured it out, every other time you're not going to use an LLM, you're just directly going to get this information, and I don't have to constantly parse this or anything. I just get that element every single time. Then the next thing that Crawlfree allows is you can get persistent browser profiles. If, for example, let's say I want to go to LinkedIn and I want to use my own LinkedIn profile for performing certain automations, like I'm going to show you here, there are, like, I have this workflow which I also showcased in one of Crawlfree's community meetups, where I basically I showed how you can like go to GitHub and like get some people's LinkedIn URLs and then send them a connection request with a custom message. If for that you need to have your LinkedIn logged in, and you're not log into LinkedIn every single time. That's obviously very suspicious, and it does not look like a real user. So Crawlflower supports persistent browser profile, where you can essentially save your browser profile locally, and every single time that you want to crawl or do some automation or something like that, you can pick up that own your own browser profile, so that every, like, your entire identity is saved, and you will look like a real legitimate user every time, with all your cookies and all your digital footprint will be there. So they won't think that you're a bot because you have like a proper identity setup. Then obviously you can perform a bunch of interactions like click, scroll, fill forms and all that. Then we have Docker. You can just very easily run it like I showed you. Then the third element is Olama. I'm pretty sure you know about what Olama does. It's very easy to run Olama. You just install it. It's a very simple command to install it, and then you just run Olama run and the name of your model, and it runs locally. It's the basically the AI. It's the engine which runs all your local LLMs. So here in the workflows that I'm going to show you, N10 will be the orchestrator where we put in things and it's just going to basically create the entire workflow. Crawl for AI will be our collector, which will go online, scrape information, collect that information, save it locally, and we can use it with N10. And then Olama will be the thinker, essentially like the local AI model, which will have, which will look at the information and it can summarize it, generate new things, give us insights and all of that. So now coming to the workflows that I have, I'm going to show you first, like the power of N8N is like you can build a lot of different types of workflows. And what I want to do here is I just want to show you guys a few like two rough workflows that can kind of show you the power of like what we can do with N8N. And I built this very quickly, and they're pretty rough, but like you can kind of understand how you can very easily build full workflows with N8N. So what news brief is essentially it's this workflow. And what it does is, let's say, I wake up every morning and I don't want to go online and scroll Twitter and all of these other sources, and I know I'm spending a lot of time on my phone and I want to save some time. So imagine I had an AI workflow which could go to my favorite sources and scrape those sources, get all the news, and then summarize each one of them by theme. Like, let's say I want to know about what's going on in the security space. I want to know what's going on in the infra space, what all has been happening in terms of funding and all that. So it summarizes them all by themes, and it gives me the summary of the scraped articles about, like, let's say, in funding, this company is launching this particular theme, or like maybe Anthropic has launched this model or Anthropic has done that. So I can really customize it based on my own sources and um get that brief every morning, right? So I can get a brief of that news every morning, and I can just run a cron job. Like, let's say at 7 a.m. I wake up at 8 and I open my phone and I get an email which has all like the information of what has happened in the past 24 hours in my phone. So that's what a news brief does. Then the other workflow that I'm going to show you is basically the same workflow that I showed in one of Crawlfuria's community meetups. The idea behind this meetup is workflow is that, imagine I have like a GitHub repository which gets a lot of stars very regularly, but I want to know more about the people who have started that repository. So let's say if I had a repository like Crawlfuria which was getting a lot of stars, I'm obviously not going to be keeping a track of the people who are starting this repository. And what I can do is I can use the GitHub API to get the stargazers and know who all have started my repository. But by default, the GitHub API, it does not return the LinkedIn URL to me. So the idea behind that was, let's say people who are starting my repository, I want to connect with them on LinkedIn and ask them questions about, like, let's say, hey, like I noticed you started my repository. I wanted to ask if you have like any, like, if maybe if you've been using my project, what all things did you like about it, maybe what all I can change. Or if I'm, let's say, looking for a job, I can tell them, like, if you like my project so much, you started, do you have any opportunities for me or something. So basically it's all about personalized outreach, and it's tied to a particular GitHub repo. So if somebody stars one of my repositories, I can quickly, like, if they have a LinkedIn URL listed, I can go to their LinkedIn. I can very easily like craft a personalized connection message for them and then send it to them, referencing my work, that, hey, you started my repository, do you have any opportunities for me or something. And that way, like, we can very easily like connect with them and build a network like that. So um like, I'll tell you about the features right now, but let's just go to these projects and I'll show you what is going on in both of them. So let's first start with news brief. And this one takes a little time because obviously I don't have a very powerful laptop, and Olama takes a little time to run on my own machine. So I'm just going to take you through what goes on in this workflow, and I've already run this before, and you guys will be able to see what happens, and I'll show you the final output after this. So essentially with news brief, what we have initially is it's like, okay, there are let me tell you what all things are there in N8N first. So N8N basically has two elements or two types of nodes. If I click on, like, if I add a node here, you'll see that there are two types of nodes, right? So first we have all of these nodes which have like a bunch of different actions, and then there's an add another trigger. So there's a trigger node, and then there's a node which performs a particular action. So the trigger node is basically something that triggers your workflow. So if, let's say, I want my workflow to be triggered every morning at 7 a.m., so that 7 a.m. or that cron job will be a trigger for my workflow. Similarly, if, let's say, I want my workflow to run when a particular event happens on an app. So if, let's say, on GitHub somebody starts my repository, then I'll go ahead and I'll go to GitHub and I'll select one of these events, right? So one of these triggers. So like whenever one of these triggers happen, my workflow will run on its own. So if, let's say, somebody start my repository, my workflow will suddenly run and it will perform all the actions there. So here we have two triggers. We have one for this demo, which is on click. So if I click on the execute workflow, it'll basically go ahead and run all of that. Otherwise, every day at 7 a.m., if I have this workflow running, it'll automatically trigger and run everything. So right now I just have three sources hard coded, but here you can also simply like go ahead and add a Google Sheets integration. So you can just go ahead over here and then you can select one of these, and then you can either like read from that sheet, you can add information to that sheet. But what usually, like, the best way is like we can get a row from that sheet, get the source, and then we can take that URL and move ahead with it in our workflow. But right now I've just taken these three sources. So what we do is we go to Hacker News, we go to TechCrunch, and we go to Product Hunt. And so for TechCrunch and Product Hunt, we're just directly sending a we're just directly using this RSS feed node, which goes ahead and reads their RSS feed. So it's already built in, it's very easy to do. And with Hacker News, we're actually hitting an API and getting the information from there. So we're just sending a GET request to this particular URL. And with basically RSS read, this node, what it does is, there are, again, as you can see, there are two types of nodes. There's an RSS read node and there's an RSS feed trigger. So with feed trigger as well, like, you can build a kind of workflow where, let's say, you have like a system where there is a particular news source that you're interested in, but it gives you a lot of information that you don't want to look at. So let's say there's a particular news outlet like which publishes a lot of news that you're not interested in. And so you can build a workflow which triggers every time a new article or something changes in that feed, and then in that RSS feed, and then you can basically pass it through an LLM and tell the LLM that, hey, like, this article has been published, is this worth my time? And you can give it like a prompt that I'm interested in XYZ, based on my interest, based on like this criteria, does this article pass your filter? And then it can like give an output that yes, this passes the filter, or no, it does not pass the filter. And then that way you can either like, it sends you an email with that article, or it summarizes it and sends it to you. So you can build something like that as well. So the possibilities are endless. But yeah, so we go to these sources, and then we take the information, and what happens by itself basically is that we go to them and we get their information. But the problem with these different sources is that we go and we get information from these sources, but it's not normalized. So it could be that different sources give us different types of outputs. Like, some could have images, some could give us like the date, some might not give us the date, some might have a different format of returning the information. And so we need to have we need to have like the same sort of structure. And for that, we basically have like a normalize function for each of them. So they go ahead and go to the normalize function, it takes that information, it normalizes it, and it gives us a uniform output, so that we know that, okay, we just want the title, we want the URL that we need to scrape, we need to know the source. And the score basically tells us, if, let's say, if it's an article on Hacker News or something, then we can know how many points, or on Reddit we can know how much points that particular article has, and maybe we can use it with a filter. Like, let's say I say later on that if an article has less than 50 points, then we don't want that. And then we have the date as well, and we basically just output this thing, and then we merge them. So we just merge the two, and we essentially want all these different data streams to completely converge and give us one data stream. And then we prep them all, so we pass them to the pep function, we get the URLs for all of those, and we save the URLs as follows, like, okay, these are my different sources, this is my information, these are all the URLs, this is like the items that I have, the title, URL tags, and all of that. Then what we do is, I basically have crawl for AI running locally. So I have the Docker container running locally on my own system, and I just go to that particular um, endpoint, and I just hit the crawl endpoint, and I simply just go ahead and pass all these URLs in the JSON, right? So as you can see here, I've just passed the URLs and I give all the URLs from what I had before, and it goes to all of them. It scrapes them. It gives me markdown which is ready for, like, to be read by the AI, and then I just simply go ahead. And the first thing that we need to do is, essentially, like, what this does is it goes ahead and it gives us like these sections, right? So it tells us like what all has happened in security, AI model releases, what all models have been released, funding and business, hardware. So what it first does is it goes to all of these like sources and news, and it basically, Olama goes ahead, and I'm using Llama 3.18 billion parameter model. It just clusters them together based on the section, like, so it reads all these different news and it decides whether, like, that particular source of news belongs in the research bracket, or does it belong in miscellaneous, or does it belong in security and privacy. So it defines all the clusters, and then I'll just show you the cluster prompt as well. So we just give it like a prompt that you're a senior news tech editor. Below are today's news tech item. You need to group them into 4 to 6 thematic categories. Then we give them like the example categories. It just uses that, and then it goes ahead and it gives us that output containing all the categories, right? So we get the clusters, and then based on those clusters, each news is tied to them. Then we go to the summary. Like, it basically goes and it creates a summary for each cluster, right? So it says like you're writing a morning tech briefing for a busy techie who wants signal, not noise. Then it just gives us a 3 to 4 sentence summary for the most important developments. It does all of that, and then essentially we go ahead and call Olama again. It goes ahead and creates a summary for us section wise, and then we have like an HTML template. We basically just go ahead, and in that HTML template we save all of that information. And once we save all of that information in the HTML template, we go ahead and we have this integration set up with Gmail, and I just send an email to myself, and just like that I get an email to myself stating like all the news that has happened. So like it says like, okay, security and privacy, a new browser fingerprinting technique has been discovered, allowing antivirus systems to identify the underlying operating system and all of that. So it gives us the source down there as well, right, based on what all things we scraped. So you can add sources that you want, you can modify this a lot. But I just wanted to show you kind of like the kind of like the power of n8n with just an n8n workflow, which is this simple, right? It doesn't have a lot of elements. It's pretty simple to use. I just have a Docker container running with crawl for AI. I just get the information from those sources, I get the markdown, and I just pass it to pass the information to Olama. I get the summary, and then I just send an email to myself, right? That's how powerful and easy it is to use it. Now coming to the other element, like, I think like you can understand the features that we're using batch scrolling. We're giving a lot of these different URLs to our crawl for the and getting the output. We're getting markdown, we're scheduling it by cron. And then obviously for websites like TechCrunch, we have to render a JS browser, and we can't directly get the HTML by sending an HTTP request. So we're doing that. Now coming to the GitHub to LinkedIn workflow, I'll just take you through this workflow very quickly as well. So you guys, yeah. So basically, what this workflow does as well, and I'll just explain it to you very quickly. What this does is we have like a Google Sheets trigger, which there are two triggers here. I've disabled one because it needs somebody to start a repository live, and I just have the information in the Google Sheet, so we'll use it. But the idea is as follows, right? Let's say somebody comes to this repository and they start it. The moment that happens, that workflow, that particular action will trigger our workflow, and we go ahead and we use the GitHub API to extract information from that particular user, and then we save it to Google Sheets. So we get all the information about them, their name, their company, their GitHub profile, and all of that. And we don't get the LinkedIn URL because GitHub API does not return the LinkedIn URL to us. So we have to use crawl for AI for that. But yeah, we get all of that information, we save it to Google Sheets. Then we use that Google Sheets to basically get their LinkedIn URL. And what we do is essentially, like I've told you before, right? We just need to perform structured extraction using crawl for AI. So I just give a base card selector for a particular GitHub website, and we just need to give the CSS selector for this element. So I had already like done this before, so I just pass the CSS selector here. And once we do that, we simply go to the GitHub profile. We again use the same crawl for a Docker container that we have running. We just hit the crawl endpoint. We just pass that. We just say like, okay, I want to use the JSON CSS extraction strategy. We pass the CSS schema that we defined earlier. And just by doing that, for all the people who are there in our Google Sheets, we go to their each of their GitHub profiles and we get their LinkedIn URLs. So as you can see over here, we have like um, a bunch of them. So some people don't mention LinkedIn on, I think most people don't mention LinkedIn on their GitHub because valid. But for people who do mention their LinkedIn URLs on their GitHub, we can get their LinkedIn URLs. And so here you can see we got like the LinkedIn URLs for a bunch of different people. And then we take that LinkedIn URL, we pass it through a filter where we drop items which don't have a LinkedIn URL. So we just drop them, and then we again open crawl for AI, and this time I need to perform I need to perform identity crawling. So what I need to do is essentially I need to open LinkedIn on my own. Like I need to open LinkedIn on a persistent browser, and then I need to go to their particular URL, and I need to go ahead and click on the connect button. Then it opens the add a note section. Then in the add a note section, I need to basically I need to go ahead and write that, hey, like I saw that you starred my repository. I saw that, like, okay, you're interested in, maybe like we can connect, maybe let's chat more about it or something like that. So for all of that, I have already defined some GSS commands, and what these JavaScript commands do is they basically perform those actions, right? So they try to click on the connect button. If like it opens the add a note section, it tries to find it, it clicks on it, then it injects our text there, like about what we want to say, and then we just send them a request right then and there. And once we do that, in the end, we simply go ahead and in the form of a schema, um, we basically go ahead and we write down the results of what has happened, right? So you can see it says sent request to results. Then in the results you can see success false, and it shows us the error message that we got. Like, so in this case, essentially, while I was trying this out, I exhausted my monthly limit. So LinkedIn free customer note limit reached. So in a way, like, boohoo LinkedIn, I could not really send an invite to this person because my note limit was reached and I couldn't send them a custom note. Obviously, I could send them a request, but not with a custom note. And with that, like, I couldn't do it. But like with the first five people, I ran this workflow and I just sent them a request with a random note while I was testing this out. So in such a way, you can basically create a workflow where you have like an entire pipeline going. You can very easily have like any kind of trigger that you want. Then you can perform a bunch of different actions. You can use any scraping engine to get information, and then you can perform different actions and then append them to Google Sheet or something like that as well. And that way, like with N10, you can do a bunch of different things and use them. I did not really go into the details of how N10 works or how Crawl3 works or anything. I just wanted to show you guys what all you can do with N10, the power of all of these tools and how you can use them creatively. It's very simple, very easy to use. You just add a node here, you connect different nodes, and it just works like that. And like that, yeah, that's basically how it works. And that's all from my side. If you have any questions, you can ask them on the YouTube chat and I'll address them a few of those questions. And yeah, that's about it from my side.
I think they had
Also,
a
like,
few questions. Uh,
okay, sorry.
Someone
Yeah,
had a question of, is it all free? So
yeah,
I actually matlab, answered kind of ki, yeah, it's all free and all. Matlab, it's all open source, so everything is
yeah.
free. Yeah.
Yeah, every single thing that we have used in any of these elements is all free, except Google, which is also technically free. They might be stealing your data, but I'm pretty sure all of you already have Google accounts. So for these workflows to work, you just need to have a Google account, and you just need to pay with your data, but there is no money involved. Is there any other question?
Guys, do we have any other questions for Som sir today for the talk? Anything? प्लीज। एक तो देयर इज अ स्लाइट डिले इन द स्ट्रीम एज वेल बिकॉज वो आई थिंक यूट्यूब के साइड से ही आता है प्रोसेसिंग के टाइम पे, तो
Oh,
देयर माइट बी लाइक पीपल posting questions 20 seconds later. Like this happened with
hmm.
Ankesh sir also. Like people were posting questions and फिर उसके बाद एकदम से I mean he was not
Yeah.
there, so yeah.
हाँ तो थोड़ा वेट कर लेंगे.
Yeah,
No
yeah, yeah,
problem.
yeah.
But in the meanwhile, if like anybody wants to connect with me, like maybe look at my GitHub or my Twitter or LinkedIn, so you can ask that. You can look at those as well over here. And बाकी कुछ भी पूछना है, you can also message me on Discord or on WhatsApp, or if you have my number. So that's about it.
Let me check the chat. I don't think they have questions अभी तो. Okay.
Okay, if like anybody has any questions, they can just message me. And I need to leave and go somewhere now, so I'll just dip.
Yeah.
Thank you
Thanks
guys
a
for
lot.
having me. Thank you,
Thank
Harsh
you.
and
Thanks a lot,
Harsh
sir.
and Harvey.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.
So guys, we saw how Soham sir gave the talk for Crawl for AI and NA10. Quite, I would say it was quite informing for me because I really wanted to learn about NA10, how everything works, and I kind of really wanted to know what Crawl for AI is because Crawl for AI, I mean, for OSCC it was a big name, but I never looked into it. But now I know कि अच्छा ठीक है, okay, it's a very nice scraping engine and all. So we'll just be taking the questions. Um, I'll be posting it on Discord as well if we have any questions for Q&A for the hackathon. Sorry, my man. We'll be taking those in a short while everybody would come and all. Okay. Do we have? Can we use N10 in the OSDC hackathon? Yeah, for sure. Krishna, you can use N10 in the OSDC hackathon. Uh, there is no, but it should be local, है ना? Because N10 also has that कि आप किसी AI API, Gen AI API को जो है आप यूज करके बना सकते हो, तो it should be local and I have used N10 in a few things जो कि like local ही चलते हैं, workflows वगैरह local you can make. तो yeah, you can use N10. When is the mid evaluation taking place? Okay. Uh, Aishani, the mid evaluations will take place at Harsh 6:30, right? On Unstop?
Yes. They are
Yes.
live right now. You can submit your mid evaluations right now if
Yeah.
you want.
So mid evals are on Unstop as a round, and we also gave you guys
It's a simple round. You just need to submit your GitHub Git repo and a small feedback if you want to.
yeah.
You can submit
Yeah,
your
they are
Feed
mid
already
evaluations
open,
right now.
so whoever
Yeah.
wants to go, they
So
can go and
mid-evals
submit their
are
GitHub
on
repo.
Unshop as a round, and we also. Kavi, your mic is echoing. Yeah. Mm. Let me announce on Discord for this, and then we'll go on. We can submit till 11:59, right? Yeah. Is it 11:59 or is it 9:30? Harsh, what what time did you guys put? Hello, guys. Hmm. I'll just check it my own self. But yeah, it should be 11:59 midnight. It's a 6 hour window. You guys can submit and yeah, almost a 6 hour window.
Tonight midnight.
Tonight? What? I'll check it now. But yeah, it should be. Okay, well, wait a second, guys. We'll just fix this.
Midnight.
अरे यार. But yeah, it should be. Okay. So we are back again on a track. It's 11:59 midnight. Any questions, anything, guys? If anybody has some questions, any questions? I also post on WhatsApp as of now. Mm, just a second. Also, guys, the monkey type has been rounded up, and we'll be calling out for the round twos, the finalists. We'll see today. We are just mailing people. What all should be included in the repo for the mid-eval? Any specific requirement that we need to submit right now? No, there isn't any requirements of sorts for the mid evaluation. बस यही है कि your repository should be active. मतलब it's not like कि आपने जो है कोई commits नहीं कर रखे हैं and then you blatantly submit your project मतलब your repository link. So that is something is what is yeah. This is something which is quite tricky, which is कि अगर आपने इतना अच्छे से काम नहीं किया हुआ है, which is like कि आपने कोई commit नहीं किया हुआ है या आपने initial commit पे भी छोड़ रखी है, this is something we see क्योंकि थोड़ा version control is something that we always judge on in all of our hackathons. Will we get feedback based on the questions in repo we put in the mid-eval form? No, this is just simply shortlisting. Basically, कोई भी अगर projects हों जो लोग नहीं कर रहे होंगे काम जिस पे या फिर जो है people जो बस बटन दबा देते हैं and it's just done. तो yeah, is it okay that the project is, yeah, there is no need for working projects, demos, किसी की ज़रूरत नहीं है for the mid evaluation. Just your GitHub commit history is what we are going to judge on at the moment. For the feedback सौम्य feedback तो नहीं ही मिलेगा. I mean you will know if you're going to the actual shortlisting round which is like the judging round. Other than that इसमें सिर्फ you are going to be shortlisted. So yes, but yes, you will get that knowledge. Huh? When we will know about shortlisting, that's a good question. Suppose only a single member maintaining a repo. How are you doing that? अगर अगर तुम लोग लाइक चार लोग हो एंड चार लोगों में से अगर एक ही इंसान सारा काम कराएगा तो बाकी तीन तो फिर लाइक वेल maintaining the repo as in if only you are doing your work then तो it's okay मतलब ठीक है but there should be other people also ना जो कर रहे हैं मतलब काम. Got it. Okay. I mean, it does not, decrease your chances of getting shortlisted. But on the other hand, we have to like look at is the progress significant because there might be, things ki, acha, co-authored commits are fine, right? Yeah, 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 fine. We are not looking for like we are looking for activity. We're looking for activity on your repo, if you are actually building or have you abandoned. This is something that is uh, required for the mid evaluation shortlisting. Any other questions, anything, guys? Please. Any tips on README? Okay. Uh, Tips on README. You should have रीडमी में यू शुड हैव व्हाट योर प्रोजेक्ट्स अबाउट, है ना? व्हाट्स योर प्रोजेक्ट अबाउट, what problem statement have you chosen, what topic have you chosen, and what all things have you made. There is also some architecture.md, which is basically what your project architecture looks like and all. वो सब we'll announce on the Discord and all the other on email as well on the final day. सुबह ही कर देंगे वो अनाउंस कि हाउ योर सबमिशन शुड लुक लाइक. इट्स नॉट समथिंग दैट यू शुड हैव टू फॉलो मतलब कंप्लीटली, बट इट्स एक्चुअली इजियर फॉर अस टू जज अगर आप फॉलो करोगे वो तो. जैसे रीडमी में ये चीज़ें होनी ही चाहिए टाइप, बहुत बड़ी रीडमी नहीं होनी चाहिए, है ना? जैसे लोग होते हैं उसमें डायग्राम्स बना देते हैं एंड ऑल दैट, तो वो दैट शुड बी सेपरेटली लिंक्ड. या फिर इमेजेस वगैरह जो है आपने कहीं और डाल रखी हैं और आपने उसमें तो दिस इज ऑल समथिंग दैट इज या. Karvit, do you wanna say something? Hello.
Just one thing to add, for the README basically, it should focus more on the technical perspective. Like basically, if you are doing something, then do not write that we have done this and it does this. That's supposed to be in one paragraph. However, if you are doing something for the model work, then you should give technical details about it, like what sort of hyperparameter tuning you have done. I have put this in this guidelines also, that what a strong submission shows like. So in that submission, you basically have to tell the technicalities of the model, like how much runtime it is taking, what you did in the local inference of it, how much quantized you make your model. There are several aspects related to the model. So the more the technical explain you will do in your readme about the actual work, that is better, rather than telling just only about whatever the whole project is doing. So focus on the technical details of the model.
This is all for the README. Baki we will announce other stuff as well. मतलब on the last day. Might be before that as well. Can we make README like there is the README file and we add links to it containing technical stuffs and working प्रोसेस. ओके रिपुंजय, सो द थिंग इज कि हाँ आप लिंक्स कर सकते हो उसको, मतलब जैसे मैंने आपको बताया था कि देयर शुड बी, देयर हैज टू बी एन आर्किटेक्चर डॉट एम डी की फाइल, है ना? तो यू कैन लिंक दैट, मतलब आप उसका क्या कहते हैं उसको, एच एफ लिंक याद है मेरे को एच टी एम एल पे. आप उसको लिंक कर सकते हो अपनी एमडी में, है ना? हाइपर लिंक या ऐसे कुछ टाइप का डाल सकते हो, एंड उससे आप जो है और बाकी चीज़ों को भी इलेबोरेटली बता सकते हो. कि जैसे अगर आपको एक ये बताना है कि आपका आपने ट्रेनिंग कैसे करवाई है, तो आप एक ट्रेनिंग और एमडी टाइप की कुछ चीज़ डाल दो कि अच्छा दिस इज मैंने ऐसे ट्रेनिंग करवाई है, या आपको मेट्रिक्स दिखाने स्पेसिफिकली जो आपको रीडमी में नहीं डालने हैं, तो आप मेट्रिक्स डॉट एम डी बना दो, उसको लिंक कर दो. द थिंग इज कि रीडमी मतलब फर्स्ट लुक एट अ प्रोजेक्ट इज योर रीडमी, है ना? फर्स्ट लुक तो आपने रीडमी देखी आपने कि अच्छा ठीक है, दिस इज व्हाट द प्रोजेक्ट इज अबाउट, दिस इज हाउ इट्स हैंडलिंग. यूट्यूब लिंक या गूगल ड्राइव का लिंक या जो भी, मतलब आप वीडियो डेमो बना रहे हो उसका लिंक हो जाए रीडमी में. दीज आर थोड़ा सा मतलब कह सकते हो ईज ऑफ एक्सेस फॉर द जजेस, कि वो कितने अच्छे से इजीली आपकी रेपो को जो है देख सकते हैं कि अच्छा दिस इज व्हाट, दिस इज दिस, दिस इज दिस एंड दिस इज दिस, है ना? इतनी लंबी रीड नहीं बनाओगे फिर मतलब उसमें हो सकता है सम थिंग्स विल बी मिस, सम थिंग्स विल बी मतलब यू नो ग्रैबिंग द अटेंशन. आप सोच रहे होगे कि एक कोई चीज होगी जिसको आपको लगता है कि यार ये तो लाइक दिस इज ग्रैबिंग अटेंशन, मुझे रीडमी में डाल देना चाहिए, और फिर आपने रीडमी इतनी बड़ी बना दी कि जज ने स्क्रॉल कर दिया एंड मतलब या वैसे तो नहीं करेगा कोई जज ऐसा, बट मान लो कि लाइक लॉन्ग डे फ्रॉम ऑफिस टाइप ऐसे, तो हो सकता है। इन दैट केस आई वुड से कि जो भी सारी चीजें हैं लिंक्स, एज इन कि आप उसको ऐसे रेपो के अंदर ही एमडीज बना लो और उस पे उसको जो है रीडमी में लिंक कर दो। हम्म। एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस वगैरह? We have 5 more minutes, then we'll end the stream for today. Innocent plain mid evals have started. Mid evals have started on unstop. आप OSD हैक वाले पेज पे जाके राउंड्स में चेक करेगा, उसमें मिड एवल का आपको एक ऑप्शन मिलेगा, उसमें जाके आप भर सकते हो अपना गिटहब रेपो, और थोड़ा फीडबैक अगर आप कुछ देना चाहो तो। या as of now 31 people have filled the mid eval forms. So you can go again, अनस्टॉप पे अवेलेबल है, यू कैन फिल द फॉर्म, ज़्यादा कुछ है नहीं उसमें। ओके गाइस, 2 more minutes final, then we'll end the stream from our side. तो 2 मिनट जो क्वेश्चंस वगैरह पूछ सकते हो, यू कैन। या Okay, I guess this is all for today from us. Thank you for joining, guys. And any questions, post in the chat. We'll try to answer them in the chat them itself. So, yep. Thank you. Thanks a lot for joining, guys. And happy hacking. All the best. Bye. Hello.